Welcome to the Livin'Sky podcast, a show about raising connected, resilient kids in a world that often forgets what they need most. I'm Lena Livin'Sky, a pediatric speech-language pathologist, holistic feeding specialist, and a mom, here to help you understand your child's body, behavior, and biology in a whole new way. Each episode brings you simple, practical tools to support healthy eating, development, and family connection without the overwhelm. Thanks for listening. I'm so glad you're here. Let's dive in. Today, I'm joined by Misa Pignataro, a certified culinary nutritionist, health coach, and former first grade teacher who helps busy families build healthy eating habits in a fast-paced, highly processed world. After transforming her own picky eater into an adventurous one, Misa became passionate about showing families that small, consistent changes can make a big impact on a child's relationship with food. Through her work, she teaches parents how to bring kids into the kitchen, make real food fun, and create one meal the whole family can enjoy without stress or overwhelm. I love that her approach aligns so much with what we talk about here on the show. Welcome, Misa. I'm so happy that you're here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. Your story is so inspiring. Can you share what led you to this work and how your own experience with picky eating shaped the way that you now help families?
Yeah. So I grew up in the 80s in a macrobiotic home, which is a very unconventional home at the time. We ate whole foods, no refined sugar. Everybody, all my friends were eating peanut butter fluffernutters on white bread. And that's all I wanted. But I had like the hard brown bread. So I didn't appreciate it at the time. But then I became a mom and I realized that the gift my parents gave me having that healthy foundation and the healthy habits. So even when I did go off to college and I ate a bunch of junk, my little rebellious era, I was able to come back. I knew what feeling good felt like. And I was able to come back to the foundations that my parents taught me when I was younger. So I'm a mom of two who are 11 and 13 now, but my youngest was diagnosed with failure to thrive when she was 1. She didn't start eating solid foods until she was 2. She had a constant runny nose, so she couldn't breathe or eat, so she had no interest, or she couldn't breathe or taste, so she had no interest in solid foods. So my mom suggested going to a naturopathic doctor. This was 10 plus years ago. I wasn't as familiar with functional medicine back then, and it was my mom talking, so I was a little hesitant, but I went because I was desperate. And she had food sensitivity. She was sensitive to gluten and dairy and soy and corn and peanuts and like
Boy.
everything. I was nursing at the time, so I had to overhaul my whole diet. So I spent a lot of time in the kitchen trying out a variety of different recipes because 10 years ago, I couldn't just go to the store and buy like healthier alternatives. It just wasn't there. So her runny nose went away. She started eating food, but she missed that flavor window from 6 months to 18 months, which is the ideal time to expose your baby to a variety of different foods. So she was picky. So I spent a lot of time in the kitchen and also researching and experimenting and trying different things. And I just got more passionate about nutrition and learning about just food as medicine. And so that's what inspired me to become a health coach. My background is in education. I was a first grade teacher. And then I just started teaching kids cooking classes around my kitchen table with the idea of teaching kids that vegetables can taste good because all my friends were complaining that their kids didn't eat vegetables and they used to when they were babies and now they didn't. So we made like spinach pancakes and sweet potato muffins, and it was just the kids were loving it. And it was just a nice way to show kids that vegetables can taste good. And it was just helped bridge that gap from like being nervous around spinach, for example, to eating the spinach in the muffin and then just bridging that gap. So now I work with families one-on-one, coaching families around picky eating and just teaching them how to fuel their bodies.
Yeah, and I think that is the best approach, working with the families at home and coaching the parents, because I do think the biggest change can happen when the parents are on board and they know how to modify their home environment to help their picky eater really bloom. And I love that. And how long did it take your daughter to kind of change her tendency, going from picky to an adventurous eater, would you say?
Yeah, I mean, it didn't happen overnight. It took
Yeah.
a while, and I don't remember that exact time where I'm like, "Oh, she's not picky anymore." It's just like, now she's not. it just happened slowly where she just kept adding more and more foods, and she
Yeah.
just became more willing to try new foods and realize
Yeah.
that she liked the foods. So a few years, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it just doesn't happen overnight, but I feel like sometimes it's hard to distinguish between, like, picky, adventurous, like, if my child still has, like, a limited variety of foods they're willing to eat, but now they're starting to be kind of curious about food, and they're starting to approach the table in a different manner. I feel like there's different signs of being less picky that is such a win without the child being able to eat everything. What's your take on what does it mean to be an adventurous eater?
Well, I mean, I love just bringing more curiosity to the table and bringing more fun.
Yeah.
And if kids are not even necessarily willing to eat it, but if they're willing to play with it and explore, and maybe they're going to lick it, maybe they're going to touch it, just being more open to even, I mean, it's different for every kid, but whether it's they're more willing to have the food on their plate versus like on the table, but not on their plate. Just these little steps, and just becoming more curious about the foods.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think a lot of the times it's about the mindset around food as well versus just like hard, solid evidence that they have this huge diet now, because that can come over time. But sometimes, different areas of the child's eating preferences are going to shift first for them to show, like, okay, food is no longer this negative thing. It's starting to become this positive thing. I agree with you very much.
Yeah, I love starting around our mindset with our kids' mindset as well as our parents. When I worked with kids in classes, sometimes kids would say, I don't eat vegetables. I'm a picky eater. So
Yeah.
I'd offer this green bean or it was this yellow bean, and they didn't had never seen it before, and they said, "Is that a fruit or a vegetable?" I said, "It's a vegetable." "Oh, I don't eat vegetables. I'm a picky eater." So just like how they view themselves. Also, picky eating is just learning to eat a variety of different foods, and we're all just learning to eat a variety of different foods. So our
Yeah.
mindset and helping them create a growth mindset of our taste buds are always changing. And I didn't used to like this when I was little, and now I like it. And just giving them hope to always continue to try because maybe one day we'll like it.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And also reminding the parents about connecting with them and like working on their nervous system regulation to help them feel more calm and present. I think that's important as well.
Yeah, I love
But
that.
yeah, I love how much our approach aligns. It's great.
Yes.
As a certified culinary nutritionist, how do you approach teaching kids to love real whole foods in a world that is just filled with ultra processed foods and convenience foods, which is just so popular everywhere, unfortunately? So, how do you approach this topic?
Yeah. Well, I love getting my kids in the kitchen. I think that's such a foundation. That's where I started is kids cooking classes. So finding ways to bring fun and curiosity to the kitchen, whether it's making the spinach sweet potato or spinach muffins or sweet potato pancakes or making a smoothie and playing around with all the different variety of ingredients and colors and getting them excited of what color smoothie do you want to make today? What kind of ingredients can we put in it? I was working with one family whose child was hesitant to try smoothies, but then we're like, why don't we play the mystery ingredient smoothie game where we make smoothies for each other? This boy was older, he was 10, I think. So they played around and put a mystery ingredient into the smoothie, and then it became a game. And then he realized that he actually liked the smoothie. So just finding ways to bring fun into the kitchen. And it doesn't have to be a big, overwhelming thing where you're making a whole recipe. If you're busy, it could just be, and you're making a stir fry. Can you help me? Can you add the salt to the stir fry? And they add a pinch of salt. And then you could say something like, do you think it needs more salt? And if they want to help and offer their opinion, they need to try the veggie stir fry. So it could be just as simple as adding a pinch of salt and asking them if it needs more. And then when you're
Yeah.
all eating and enjoying the stir fry together, oh my gosh, this tastes so good. You put the perfect amount of salt or herbs or spices or whatever. Just fun ways to get the kids involved and help them to feel more part of the meal and just the smile that these kids feel
Yeah.
after their accomplishments that they made something is awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. And In my Bloom framework, I talk about this is one of the areas, open exploration, because I do think it's a huge area that we need to explore in picky eating in general. Because sometimes we just don't think about like where does this food come from? Like the kids, they get a plate of food in front of them, so they have no idea where did this chicken come from? Where do these broccoli come from? Where does it come from? Making this connection of like going back to the kitchen and cooking with it, or going to the grocery store, going to the farm, the garden, and picking the food first. Sometimes kids are just not at that point where they're willing to try something because we're just reaching a little bit too far with our goals. And I love this. Like go back and maybe instead of expecting them to eat the stir fry, you cook it together. You just have them put some salt in it. Exactly. I love that example. We sometimes have to think about like how do we take a step down so it doesn't feel so overwhelming for our
Yeah.
picky eater.
Yeah. I just yesterday I worked with a group of 26 teenage girls and we made rainbow veggie sushi. So I had all the colors of the rainbow, and for purple, I had bought shredded beets. And I was going around saying, "Who wants shredded beets?" One person got the shredded beets. I'm like, "Okay, I guess I made a lot of shredded beets." But then she tried it. She was willing to try, and she's like, "Oh, this is good." And then once somebody else asked for it, and then they started putting it on their lips because they realized it was like a tinted lip gloss.
Yeah.
And then before you know it, I had all 26 girls asking for the beets, and then they were putting it on their lips, and then they were mixing it with the hummus, and they were asking for seconds, and by the end, it was all gone. It was, like,
Wow.
so fun to see how that evolved from, like, being so hesitant because most kids had never tried it before. It's an unusual vegetable, but then the gateway was like, "Oh, this is pretty lipstick."
I love that. It's like finding that connection based on your child's age. And another thing that sticks out with that story is that teenage girls, and maybe they were hesitant before, so they were kind of like presenting as picky, but it's never too late. If you can relate to them at their age, like you can find fun ways of introducing foods that maybe they weren't willing to eat before. And it's never too late to try.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I love that. That sounds so fun. I want to take your class. So, you often talk about meeting families where they are. And what are some of the most common mistakes parents make when trying to fix picky eating? And how can we start to make kind of a shift with that mindset?
So I love the division of responsibility. What's our job as a parent? It's to make nutritious, balanced meals most of the time. It's to decide where we're going to eat at the kitchen table or in front of the TV. And it's to decide what time, like 5 or 6 o'clock, right? And it's the kids' job to decide if they're going to eat and how much. And as parents, we love our kids so much, and it's so stressful when they don't eat. So we're like, take a bite, take 2 bites, then you can go play, 3 bites, then you can have dessert. And then we're like bartering with them. And so I think that's one of the most common things that parents, well meaning parents, just want our kids to eat. And using those pressure tactics can often backfire, can create anxiety. It might work in the short term where maybe the kids do eat the broccoli, but then it's creating this unhealthy environment around the kitchen table. And our kids are eating the broccoli not because they want to, but because they have to, because they want dessert or they want to go play or whatever it might be. So my mantra is keeping the adventure high and the pressure low. So how can we bring fun and curiosity to the table with and removing that pressure?
I couldn't agree more. I think that's such a good point. Removing the pressure, connecting more, and just like taking a step back sometimes because it can feel so overwhelming when you're working with picky eaters. When you have a picky eater at home and then, you're just like a short order cook. You can't make the same dinner for everybody, and you have to wear so many different hats as a mom and as a parent. And I love that. I think it's about connecting and taking a step back.
Yeah.
Definitely. So, what are some of your favorite ways of involving kids in the kitchen? Even like the hesitant or a sensory sensitive ones, so that the mealtime feels more like play instead of pressure.
Yeah. So, I mean, in terms of preparation, it could just be having the kids, depending on the age, having them wash the vegetables or dry the vegetables, or if they're a little bit older, cut the vegetables or grate them or use the lettuce spinner or there's little different ways to get kids involved. When my girls were little, I had the learning tower so they could stand up on the island even if they were just holding a spoon and just watching me. So even before we sit down, if it's possible, just getting the kids engaged so they know what's for dinner so it's not a surprise when we come to the table. And then one thing I remember I did, with my girls. So I usually buy orange sweet potatoes, but I was at Whole Foods and I got the purple ones and the white ones and the orange ones. And the only ones they wanted to eat were the orange ones because that's what the familiar one was. So I closed my eyes and I'm like, I wonder if I can tell which sweet potato is which just based on taste. So I closed my eyes. I think I got them all wrong. Like, "Oh, that was so hard. Do you guys think you could do it?" And I don't know. Can you guys so they ended up closing their eyes and trying it, and they realized they liked it. So finding just different ways, asking different questions to get kids involved at the dinner table, just feeling more relaxed.
Yeah, exactly. And I think sometimes we forget how much kids learn through play or they're willing to explore things through play. That is their love language. That is how they learn. That is where they feel comfortable, right? Our kids, depending on the age, as they get older, things can shift. But up until, I don't know, the age of maybe 12, 13, I played with Barbies when I was 13, 14. So
Yeah.
it can go pretty long that they're just interested in play. So introducing play elements into your kitchen like you just described it, I think it's so good. It is such a great avenue to explore when it comes to picky eating.
I was just thinking, I have this taste-o-meter that's just a colorful, like, scale of 0 to 10 or thumbs up, I love it, thumbs to the side, it's okay, or thumbs down, I don't like it yet, but maybe I'll like it cooked a different way or another day. So even my girls are older now, we still always say, "What do you rate it?" when we try something new. So, "What do you rate it?" or "Tell me where it lands on the scale." And if kids wanna play the game, then they'll have to at least try it. If they don't wanna play, that's okay too, but you can model tasting it and rating it yourself. And I still have families say kids will ask to try new foods just so they can use the taste-o-meter because it's just a fun game. I wanna use the taste-o-meter. What can we try today?" For many families, it was a game-changing tool just to bring more fun to the table and to feel like a game.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
sounds fun for adults too. I want to do
Yeah.
it. That sounds
Yeah.
so fun.
Yeah.
Where do you get one of those?
It's on my website. People can download it. Misascleankitchen.com. You can download it, and it's just a colorful scale that you keep on your fridge as a reminder to make trying new foods fun.
Perfect. I'm gonna
Yeah.
include it, the link to it in the show notes for that. So if anybody wants to grab one, I definitely will. That's
Thank you.
awesome. Um, so there is a lot of, or I feel like it could be very overwhelming. There's a lot of conflicting nutritional advice out there. So when you're helping families plan meals, what are some simple rules of thumb do you recommend for creating like a balanced plate that supports focus, calm, and good energy in kids and just health overall? You know, I'm a huge believer that light is one of the most powerful medicines for our kids and for us. That's why I love Bon Charge. Their blue light blocking glasses, red light therapy devices, and many other products are designed to support your circadian rhythm and help your family sleep and feel better naturally. In our modern world of screens and artificial light, these small shifts make a big difference. Calmer evenings, deep sleep, better focus, and happier moods. I use Bond Charge products every single day, and even my son has his own pair of blue light blocking glasses for evening story time. You can check out all their products at bondcharge.com and use code LENAL to save 15% off your purchase.
Yeah. Well, we talk a lot about blood sugar. And we talk about making sure we've got protein, healthy fats, fiber, color, ideally on the table to help. The protein provides feeling satiated. The fiber helps feed our gut microbiome. Healthy fats are really important for our brain health and brain development and for satiety. We talk about blood sugar and how to build a balanced meal with those three components.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what are some ways that we can kind of notice in our kids that their blood sugar is off balance? What are
Yeah.
some ways that can manifest?
Yeah, so they can have hangry meltdowns. We're all familiar with those. And just dysregulation where they're, running around and really got a lot of energy, and then all of a sudden they fall apart and they're having these meltdowns, hard time focusing, irritability. I know one family once we talked about how to balance our plates and we talked about blood sugar, mom noted it was easier for her son to go to bed at night. He was just more steady energy. And so just energy level, and it's easier for us when we put some effort in at the front, and it makes so much easier on ourselves to put our kids to bed and to whatever it might be.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
especially in today's world, I think with so
Yeah.
many foods just being ultra processed and we're still being marketed the idea of like cereal being great for breakfast. Usually the Kellogg's and all the other companies, these cereals are just loaded with sugar and this is how we start off our breakfast and then we have like orange juice and a carb and then we're on our way, right? And that's just sets up I feel like our kids' systems to just be so dysregulated for the entire day and then
Yeah.
they're craving sugar and carbs as a result as well.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's frustrating. I've been trying to work with schools because
Mhm.
some kids have breakfast at school and the choices are just like really sugar cereals, and the celebrations just put me over the edge
Yes. Oh
with
my
all the
gosh.
sugar and the food dyes. And, kids are there to sit. They have to sit and learn and focus. And how can they do that when they're on this blood sugar roller coaster and they're just,
Yeah.
it's tricky to
It is
navigate.
tricky. Yeah, it's tricky, and then they're expected to kind of sit a little chairs for most of the day, and it's just so hard, and,
Yeah.
um yeah, and I think we need to do a lot more to support them, and I agree with you. I was trying in my son's daycare, I was like, "Oh, how about we exchange these snacks for those snacks?" And, like, sometimes it's not even about a money issue, it's about just setting it in place because just because something is better, doesn't mean it's more expensive. There's
Yeah.
ways of still
Yeah.
having things within your budget and changing just the type of food we offered for it so that it's not just filled with sugar and it's not so ultra processed. Yeah. But speaking of sugar, so what are some practical ways parents can reduce sugar intake without creating these strict rules around sugar and making it out to be kind of the villain in the story?
Yeah. Well, I just like to step one is just to be aware and start looking at the labels and turning it over and looking at the grams of added sugar and looking at the serving size, because oftentimes if we pour some cereal, most likely it's not just one serving, it's probably two servings, and just bringing more awareness to what our kids are eating. When I give these workshops, I'll bring a bowl of sugar and a teaspoon, and I'll say, okay, breakfast is cereal and orange juice, and that's, 4 teaspoons, and then a peanut butter jelly sandwich. There's 5 grams of sugar in some breads, one slice of bread. So just bringing awareness to how much sugar we are eating. And by the end of the day, on a relatively healthy meal or a healthy day, it's like 70 grams of sugar.
Goodness.
So it adds up quickly because it's in our tomato sauce, our bread, our salad dressing. So being aware and then just finding simple swaps. I'm so thankful that there are more and more companies that are making better for you options like the ketchup. I mean, there's Primal Kitchen unsweetened ketchup, and there's mayonnaise that doesn't have sugar now, and you can find dressings that don't have sugar. You can make your own. Yeah, making your own, I mean, does take more time, but making your own dressing, or when you wanna make muffins, a lot of the recipes have, like, a cup of sugar. Just start by
My
cutting the
goodness.
sugar in half, and it's still plenty sweet. So whenever we make baked goods, I usually just cut the recipe in half, and it's more than sweet. Those are
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like once you start reducing sugar, you also crave it less. So then it becomes maybe initially it feels a little bit off, but then over time, you're just not going to need it as much.
Yeah.
You said 70 grams of sugar a day is the average of what
Well, I
keeps
don't
your
know
kids
if
up?
that's the average that kids are
Yeah,
consuming, but as a healthy example with just like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, a Nutri-Grain bar, picking foods that I see kids eating on the regular, it was about that, and
yeah,
4 grams is equal to 1 teaspoon, so it was, good
yeah,
amount. It just
yeah.
it just adds up when we're not being intentional about it.
Yeah, well, Dr. Lisa Song, she's I'm in her mastermind, and she's my mentor, and she talks about sugar a lot, and apparently, I think 70 grams is pretty correct, like, kids have a lot of sugar
Yeah,
during the day
they do.
just because we
Yeah.
don't realize how much, but we're supposed to aim to have, like, at most 25. So they're
Yeah.
getting, like, 2, 3 times more of the daily allowance of what they should be getting.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
it's a big issue,
Yeah, and
definitely.
just a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, if you're getting peanut butter that has a little sugar and the jam and the bread, it was 25 grams, and that's just
Yeah.
in for lunch.
Yeah.
And I love Dr. Lee Song's book.
Yes, me
Like, lucky that
too.
you get to work with her. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, she's amazing. She's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, but she talks about the microbiome in the book and all the great tips. But yeah, sugar is a huge thing, and she talks about also like you said, you should be kind of like a nutrition label detective because the marketing on all of the products we buy is just so deceiving. It's going to say like gluten free and healthy and no artificial dyes, right? But there is still like natural flavors and a ton of sugar in the product, and there's so many different things like enriched wheat flour and everything else that we should be looking out for. So I think at this point, because we have so much marketing deception out there, whenever you go to a grocery store, you do need to read the label, look at the nutritional facts, look at the ingredients to make the best decision for you and your family. Because whenever we feed our kids so much ultra processed foods, it's going to impact their health and their microbiome negatively, their blood sugar, everything else, their mitochondrial health. So it is just so important because we live in such a toxic world. And that's why we can start to kind of control the environment a little bit more.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's sometimes the package will say no sugar added, but that means it could be artificial sugar or it could be monk fruit. And I know monk fruit and stevia might be a better alternative for our blood sugar purposes. But it's still, what is it, like 200 times sweeter. So it is
Yeah.
shaping our taste buds to appreciate sweeter foods. So I do think even if it says sugar free, then we still do have to look at actually what's on the back of the box.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's I feel like the companies, not to call anybody sneaky, but there's just so many different ways of naming sugar. Like there's just so many
Yeah.
different names for it.
Yeah.
So my rule of thumb whenever you kind of read the ingredients, if it's not in your pantry, just don't buy it. If you don't know what it is, just don't buy it. Just if it says like a fancy word that you just haven't heard before, it's probably not good for you. So
Yeah.
that's just my rule of thumb usually that I
Same.
share. Yeah.
Same. Yeah.
Um, so a lot of families feel stuck in like I said, the short order cook cycle, one meal for the adults, of other ones for the kids. So what's your advice for like breaking that pattern?
Family style meals.
Yes.
Yes, or build your own adventure bowls. But I love like burrito bowl night or taco night where you're putting all the ingredients on the island and then kids, if they're old enough, are building their own bowl or plate. And so everybody's being exposed to all the different ingredients. And even if they're not putting it on their plate, they're seeing it, they're being exposed to it, they're watching us eat it and enjoy it. And so that's one more exposure that they're getting. But I even love, I cooked for 30 people this summer on a family vacation and we made taco bowls because there was somebody who was gluten free and dairy free and vegan and vegetarian and, all the different diets. And so it's such an easy way to accommodate for everybody's taste preferences and diets is family style meal. And you could do that for rice bowls. You've got your
Yeah.
rice, your animal protein or whatever protein you want, your vegetables, all the different colors, and then kids can build their own. And I love how each plate is going to look different. And sometimes I'll put plates and bowls so they can decide what serving, dish they
Yeah.
want to use. And I just love how everybody's looks different, but we've all got the same ingredients. And I put it in the glass containers. Then at the end of the night, lid on it. So I'm not doing a million dishes. And then we've got leftovers. So trying to keep it simple, easy, not a lot of dishes.
Yeah. Oh, that's important for moms for sure. And
Yeah.
dads. But yeah, I couldn't agree more. That's exactly what I do as well. That's what I advise people to do. And again, it's about bringing the fun into almost everything. And even like this family style meal. And you talk about like, having a bowl or a plate to pick from. And whenever I was working in therapy, I always had these like fun, colorful little tasting spoons for kids so they could pick the color and and the size and maybe have like a swirly straw if they're working on drinking. It just brings back the fun and excitement around food. And sometimes food can feel like a chore. And for kids, that's kind of like a recipe for building a negative relationship with it sometimes. And it's just
Yeah.
about like putting some fun back into it.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
all eat with our eyes first, when
Yeah.
you go out to eat and it looks so pretty, you don't want to, this looks so pretty, I can't wait to dive in. So we all, start with our eyes. So we wanted to make it look pretty for our kids too.
Yeah.
More enticing.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. And it doesn't have to be like this huge task. Like, I love making tacos. That's one of the easiest meals we even make in my family. And it's so fun. And, the kids love it. And sometimes, like, for my son, he loves the crunchy tortillas. So I make sure that, they come. I like the Sieta brand. It's gluten free and like cassava flour and stuff like that. So those are the ones we get. So you can, even for kids who will only eat those, like making sure that you have a good quality one is already a win at the
Yeah.
table. Yeah.
Yes.
Um, so as a mom yourself, how do you navigate like real life situations, right? Where you go to talk about schools, like school lunches, birthday parties, and travel, while still staying true to your values around food and wellness, because as we know, most of the options out there, when we can't control them, are less than desirable
Yeah.
for their health.
It's overwhelming.
Yeah, it is.
It was easier when my girls were little and you could easily distract them, like when they were 2 years old. I could easily distract them from whatever their friends were eating. But when they got into school and they saw what other kids were eating and they were asking for that, it definitely got trickier, and then they started going to birthday parties. I just really try to focus on what I bring into the home, making it healthy, and I don't bring food dyes into the home, and I don't bring ultra processed foods into the home, so I feel good about what my kids are eating. My girls are 11 and 13. I've got a lot less control over what they eat outside of the home, but so I try not to get hyperfixated on it too much. And just trying to bring awareness to schools as much as I can, just because that's a passion of mine, trying to educate teachers and parents around how food dyes and
Yeah.
these ultra processed foods affect our bodies and behaviors. But
Yeah.
ultimately, yeah, I trying to create a healthy environment inside our home is the best we can do.
Yeah, exactly. Because we won't be able to control every single environment, right? And if they have good food, good quality food, at least 80% of the time, or hopefully more, then, we don't have to freak out over them having like colorful cupcake, which is less than desirable. But, their body is strong enough and they're balanced enough where they're going to be able to handle it without
Yes.
it causing issues.
Yes.
Yeah. So I know many of my listeners are moms who are healing their own relationship with food while trying to raise adventurous eaters. What can you say to a parent who feels like they've messed up or they started too late? What can we say to
Yeah, it's
them?
never too late.
Yeah.
It's never too late. There's always hope. It starts with our mindset. It starts with modeling a healthy relationship with food, making sure we're modeling and exposing kids to a variety of different foods. And yeah, it's definitely never too late. There's so much that we can do at any age as long as they're in our home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and, like, finding a way to co-regulate and connect with them sometimes I think is the first step. Even if the kids are older, they're teenagers and high schoolers or really little, I think that connection is, for me personally, one of the most important first stepping stones to
Yes.
creating a good relationship with food.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And I was just thinking for my teenager, she loves going on the computer and scrolling. She doesn't have Instagram, but she scrolls my Instagram. And she found one blogger that she loves who cooks the way we cook. She's gluten free, dairy free, refined sugar free. So it's fun for her to scroll and it's like, oh, I want to make this, mom. I want to make this. And so it's just a nice way for her to get excited. And then she'll write down a list of ingredients that I need to buy at the grocery store. And then we'll make it together, whether
Nice.
it's a dessert or a dinner or whatever. But that's a fun way for her to get excited and try a new recipe and be on social media.
Yeah, and I love that because your feed is curated, I'm
Right.
sure,
Right.
so
It's
it's something you
curated
can
to the
share.
food that we eat, so she gets excited, and it's cool to see that other people also eat the way we eat. They exist into
Yeah,
the world.
exactly. I know
Yeah.
'cause, I mean, in this world, when you go out and you kind of scan the restaurant menus and everything else, you go to the birthday parties, I think sometimes it's easy to kinda think like, "Wait, like, everybody else eats like a standard diet, right? Like, why do we have to work so hard to be, like, gluten-free and dairy-free and refined sugar-free?" It's so weird, right? I feel like maybe at that age, they don't understand it, but like you said, you yourself, you went through that phase, right? Rebellious phase in college, and then
That's
you
right.
came back to understand, like,
Yeah.
It's just what's best for our bodies. So it's
Yeah.
great that she has this exposure now.
Yeah. I'm hoping when becomes a mom, she'll thank me. So I got
Yeah.
a
Oh, I'm
few more
sure.
years.
I'm
I know
sure.
they don't quite appreciate it now. I just got to wait like 20, 30 more years.
No, I think it's gonna be sooner than that. Our kids are so smart. They're so smart, and and who knows? Maybe she'll go through her rebellious phase in college and realize like, oh, mom, this food makes me feel so bad.
Yeah.
Like, yeah,
Yeah, sometimes experience is the best lesson. My
yeah,
girls have learned plenty of time how eating a cupcake or doing this and that, just they get a stomach ache or they get sick the next day or whatever it might be. It's important lessons to be learned.
definitely, yeah.
Yeah.
I went through that lesson too. When I was in high school, when I grew up, like most of the meals we had were home cooked. We really believe in home cooked meals in my home. And I grew up in a Polish family. So lots of meat, lots of soups and stuff like that. And then when I went to high school, it was my rebellious phase. We went to Wendy's every day after school. And then we went to McDonald's. And oh my goodness, did I pay the price for that for a while? A lot of undoing. Uh, but you live and you learn. So this is my favorite last question to ask every guest. If you could share just one piece of advice with parents who want to raise healthier, more resilient kids in today's world, what would it be?
I would say sleep is so like foundational, prioritizing sleep and making sure it's so hard when we're so busy with sports and homework and things like that, but really prioritizing getting our kids in bed ideally and having them get a good night's sleep. It can really shift so much of our health and our mood, and just everything feels like it stems from either a good night's sleep or a poor night's sleep.
Yeah.
And I can notice right away when I don't have a good night's sleep or when my kids don't have a good night's sleep. It just feels like it's really important for me to prioritize that.
Yeah, it's so important for our health. Like, me too. I notice right away. I can't focus as well when I don't have good night's sleep. My mood is kind of sad. So all of that it affects our eating preferences, right? Like the choices we make. And usually, what happens when you don't have a good night's sleep or you're just not feeling great, you tend to reach for the carbs and the sugars, and yeah, and it's just like a vicious cycle.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. So I agree. I think sleep is so important. But thank you so much for coming on the show. This was such a good conversation. I learned a ton, and I know our listeners will as well. So, if anybody wanted to work with you or learn more about you, where can they find you online?
I'm on Instagram at Misa's Clean Kitchen, and my website is misascleankitchen.com.
Perfect. I'm going to link it in our show notes. So, if anybody wanted to connect with you, they can find you right there. And I'm going to also link that tasteometer because I think it's so cool.
Yeah, thank you. Thank
Yeah,
you so much for having me.
my pleasure. Thanks so much for listening to the Livin'Sky podcast. If this episode resonated, please leave a quick 5-star review or share it with another parent who'd love it too. It really helps more families find the support that they need. And don't forget to join my newsletter at linalivinsky.com for more tips and free guides. Sending a little sunshine to your kitchen today. See you next time.